Hi, Marianne here, and welcome back to the Restoration Activation Project video commentary series. In the last video, I spoke to the various rules of engagement and how we are transgressing those, as well as the 7 principles of consciousness creation in our reality, so that we can begin to really understand and embody the knowledge of how we have contributed to the predominantly consciousness regressive cycle that humanity is now in. But in today's video, we're going to be looking at some of the ways that we can tell that we're making progress on our consciousness, or excuse me, our conscious awakening journey towards, which involves consciousness progressive activities. So here we go. And there's so many. Before I begin, there's countless ways that this can be experienced and seen, and everybody's at a different place on their journey. So there's no way I can address everything or everyone and where they are. So I tried to make a list so that I would have some notion of how to move through this, but I'm just going to go with the flow, which is what I usually end up doing anyway, and just dive right in here. One of the first ways to tell that you're making progress, surprisingly, might surprise some of you, is that you're just being inundated, barraged by a number of different challenging situations and circumstances, and things in relationships, maybe on the job. Just life in general seems to be ramping up in ways that you wouldn't choose for yourself, or at least ego wouldn't choose. But you're beginning to recognize that the very fact that this craziness is going on around you, that you're on the right path. Otherwise, these things wouldn't be happening. And in fact, you've made progress, and this is the message that you're giving. This message means that it's just time to step up your game. It's that simple. This is the opportunity to take your efforts to the next level, or these things wouldn't be happening to you. So that's one way to tell you're on the right path. Another way is if you're feeling less stressed. You're caring less and less about what other people think. And you're getting more in touch with learning to trust yourself a little more. You're turning more to you for answers. Another way to tell is you're being less triggered emotionally. Or you're getting triggered more emotionally, but you recognize, again, like back to the other one, that this is an opportunity. It's time for you to step up your game. You're on the right track, but it's time to step it up. Okay? If you're someone who hasn't been in touch with your emotions for the most part, but you're taking steps, you understand at least that you need to take steps. You understand the importance of emotional release, and you're at least contemplating what you need to do to take that next step. But even recognizing that is progress. You know that you need to deal with emotions. You know this. And all you have to do is take the next step, but you know that you need to take a step. Just seeing the issue is a huge step. Recognizing it, knowing that it's there, that's progress. And then the next step is your willingness to take steps to actually deal with that issue. But you're making progress. On the flip side of that, if you're someone who is, let's say, very in touch with your emotions, you feel emotions very readily, perhaps you are an empath, but you're getting more in touch with your ability to properly administer them. They're more in check. And you're learning how to release them responsibly. In other words, you can see now, you're beginning to see when you just blurt something out without any awareness or real concern about the energies around you, but you're beginning to recognize when you do that. That's progress. That's progress. Remember, at the core of all of this work is becoming more and more consciously aware of yourself and what's going on around you. Okay? Look at a few of my notes here. I'll just read my own scribble. You're beginning to catch yourself when you tell a lie. You are more quickly aware of, even if you didn't stop it when it came out, you realize after the fact that you did it. That's progress. That's progress. You're also beginning to recognize, some of you, more and more when ego is behind the driver's wheel, it's in the driver's seat, as opposed to core self. Even if you're not yet, you don't really have a handle yet on quite how to deal with that, excuse me, you're becoming more aware of ego being in control when it is. You recognize it. Again, that's progress. Another sign of progress is that you are thinking more and more about your progression in terms of a holistic perspective. How important it is to deal with all the aspects of yourself. For example, you're taking care of not just doing energetic healing and thought, emotional administration and release and all that, and getting a handle on your thoughts, but you're also including the body in that. You're taking steps to make dietary changes if you need to, more physical movement, more physical exercise. But even if you haven't done those things yet, you're coming more into a sense of wholeness and understanding that all of these things need to be addressed if you're on the conscious journey of awakening. All of self, whole self, that's progress. You know that they need to be done. You're seeing things more in a holistic perspective, and not just about yourself, but you're carrying this into the world. You're seeing more and more that the other person isn't just a mind-body complex. You're coming more to understand that there's either core self, well, there's core self, I guess, behind everybody. Those that have enough consciousness to be here in a body, even if that body isn't wholly human. And I'll get into that in the next video. But you're seeing things more from the perspective of what you really are. Meaning that other is more than what you see before you. That's progress. Expanded perspectives, expanded consciousness. Okay? Another sign of progress is that along these same lines, you're more and more in the present moment. You're more in tune with what's going on right now. You're spending more time in the now than you are reliving the past or projecting something into the future that isn't here yet. And it's just a possible future. That's progress. More time in the present, cultivating that, spending time attempting to be in the present moment. Which brings me to the next one. You're spending time questioning. You're questioning more and more everything that you do, everything that you say, the things that you think, the way that you feel. Why did I think that? Why am I feeling this way? What's at the core of that? Even if you don't understand what that distortion is yet, you're expending time and focused attention looking at it. That's progress. Another way you can tell you're making progress is that when the very fact, that you're more in tune, you're more in the present moment, maybe you're beginning to notice more and more things around you and starting to make connections between what you're seeing and what that might really mean. For example, something as simple as you're sitting outside or walking in the park or wherever you are outside, and a butterfly crosses your path. Even if you don't quite yet understand what that might mean for you, it's a mess. You understand that it is a message. That's progress. Because you understand, you're beginning to understand that in everything that occurs, you're being spoken to, if you will. They're all messages. You're constantly, core self, and just the baseline consciousness, energies of consciousness are constantly trying to get our attention. And as I said, even if you don't understand exactly what it means, one way you can do that, when you see something like that, or you see a beautiful hawk flying above you, or a squirrel crosses your path. I mean, it's there in front of you. Not that long ago, I had a peacock show up out of nowhere in suburbia. Well, I don't live in suburbia, but I was in suburbia, and it's like, wow, I have to check this out. But just know that those are all messages for you. They're synchronicities. And becoming, the very fact that you know that, that's progress. Even if you don't understand exactly what it means, you have the chance to go figure out what it might mean for you. On the flip side of that, sometimes there is external energetic interference that isn't so beautiful or pleasant. But you understand that the very fact that it is happening, again, is a huge message that you're on the right track. Or these oppositional forces wouldn't be showing up in your life. Now, I'm going to, in the very next video, I'll be addressing that more, but that's enough for now. You recognize that everything that you're being shown, everything that you're experiencing, you're understanding on some level that it's an opportunity, or that you are progressing, and it's an opportunity to step it up. That's progress. Um, let's see here. When you do, when a past experience does crop up in your thoughts, and they do, perhaps not very pleasant at the time experience, but you're starting to feel less and less emotional charge around it. That is progress. Even if it still does sometimes stir something in you, you're making progress. And for those of you who still have certain experiences, whether old or pretty recent, that flash that come up within you in thoughts or feelings, and you still have deep emotional, powerful emotional charge around it, if you recognize that this is your cue, that some other distortion needs to be plucked out by the root, that's progress. Even if you aren't quite sure what the distortion is, the very fact that you can step back and say, yeah, there's still something I need to deal with, that is progress. Okay? You are spending more and more of your two energetic currencies, your time and attention, on doing this work. You started doing it more days of the week if you haven't been doing it regularly, or if you do something every day, you're spending more time doing it. That's progress. Even before you see results, there's already something going on within you, and you will experience if you stick to it. If you aren't already, usually when you're doing this on a regular basis, stuff kind of unfolds pretty quickly. And if it isn't, then you might need a little help with the tools you're using, or some support, help with self-discipline, or whatever it is. And there's a number of people out there, including myself, that can help you with that. So, but the very fact that you're doing it, your intention, you're working it, that's progress. And if you haven't been able to devote as much time and focused attention on this work as you'd like, but you know that, and you're taking steps, whatever steps are within your power right now toward doing that, that's progress. That's progress. Let's see, it's a long list. If you are becoming more and more, let's say you're already an intuitive person, but you're using your intuition in a more consciousness progressive fashion than before, that's progress. Because I can tell you that a lot of people who have strong intuition, just because you have it doesn't mean that you're using that tool in a consciousness progressive fashion. I mean, a lot of people that are deeply intuitive are I've met a number of people that are very fear-based, and they're not using it in ways that would support them on a conscious journey of awakening. So if you're starting to recognize that you're using your gift in a more consciousness progressive fashion, that's progress. And for those of you that perhaps haven't been as in tune with your intuitive capacities as you would like to be, or you just kind of thought you really don't have them, but you're starting to get more in touch with that, that's progress. You are beginning to recognize that you have certain gifts and capacities. And because you recognize that, you're allowing them to come more to the surface. Progress. That's progress. The same thing with other capacities. Even if you aren't experiencing them yet, you know that, and that's not why you're doing this work. You already know that there's stuff there that's going to come to light as you do this work. But it isn't why you do the work. That's progress. Another example is you are spending more time connecting with core self, or if you've already spent a lot of time doing that, you're doing it in ways that are with the intention of progressing on your conscious journey of awakening. And I address that in one of my recent articles, and I'll put a link to that below this video. But you're doing it in a way with the express intention, not just to feel good, and that's a lot of the thinking behind people who have been caught up in the New Age and modern spirituality communities, that connecting with core self is basically kind of just a feel-good thing. And same thing with meditation, that they've both been promoted more as escape mechanisms rather than tools for progressing on the journey. They're powerful. But you're coming more into understanding that everything that you do is intended, was designed to help you progress on your journey. And just recognizing that and starting to really sort of look at that and explore that, that's progress. That's progress. You're exploring and experimenting more with your own energies and your own energy centers and their own capacity, their capacities. And you're sensing more and more into the energies around you. Or you're more aware of when you just, for example, maybe you just blurted out, you just emotionally expressed, you immediately recognize after the fact because it feels funny. That's progress, because that is your mind-body complex telling you that something's off. It's not about beating yourself up, but you're getting more in tune with the energies outside of yourself, not just your own. That's progress. And in the beginning, that's how we kind of learn to get more in touch with and more responsible for our thought and emotional expressions. Sometimes we have to go in the back door. And for many people, that involves the feedback that we get after we do it. It's like, wow, that didn't go over very well, or wow. But you recognize that that's what's going on. And you've been put more in touch with the importance of tuning into energies around you. That's progress. And sometimes it takes a while. And that ties into the next sign. You're becoming more and more able to discern, whether that discernment is around any knowledge or information you're taking in, to discern that your response is whatever response that might be, or reaction. Discern whether that was an ego or distortion-based response, or a core self-based response. But your levels of discernment, your ability to discern, is becoming more and more finely tuned. That's progress. Or at the very least, you're putting time and attention toward that. You know that you need to step up your discernment game. And you're taking steps to do that. Progress. Another sign of progress is that whenever you're becoming more and more aware of what you're taking into yourself. And not just the food that you eat, the things you drink, but what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're listening to. And getting more in touch with what impact it's having upon you. You're paying more attention. When you sit down to watch a movie, perhaps something that wouldn't have bothered you 6 months ago makes you squirm a little bit now. That's progress. Because something in you is shifting. And now ultimately, remember, there's no good or bad information. Information is information. But it gives you the opportunity to start getting a handle on where you are in your journey. And feelings and the way we respond to information help us get a handle on that. Give us something to look at. It's like, why did that make me squirm? Why? What's bothering me now? That didn't used to bother me. Progress. That's progress, progress, progress. You're looking more into everything that you consume. While we're on this topic, maybe the music that you listen to. Again, nothing good or bad, but maybe you're questioning, starting to question everything. And that's not the same as second guessing, but just saying, why do I listen to this particular kind of music, or this particular artist? Just say why. And there's no right or wrong answer, no good or bad answer, but why up to this point have I been listening to it? What is it about this music that appeals to me? Is it the lyrics? Is it, and if so, why? Why do those particular lyrics appeal to you? What do they evoke from you, elicit from you when you hear them? Or the music itself? And if you're a big, huge music fan, you're kind of addicted to music, and music is wonderful. I'm not saying take music out of your life, but maybe remember, no attachments. That's part of our work. No attachments to anything at all. Doesn't mean that we have to eliminate them from our lives, but if you get in a car, or the minute you walk in the door at home, got to turn on music, and you're looking at that. Why? Why do I feel so attached to music? That's progress. Because you're beginning to question every aspect of your life. You're looking at relationships of all sorts, whether it's friends, family, partnerships, whether business or personal. But, and I don't mean just if something's going wrong, or there's a bump in the road in the relationship, but just generally speaking, you're looking at it. Why am I in this relationship? That's progress. You're looking, and the only way, looking is the only way to expand consciousness. You're expanding your consciousness by looking. That's progress. Many on the conscious journey of awakening are going through the experience of aloneness, of feeling alone in this, even if not lonely, which is a little bit different, but the sense of aloneness in this, because, and you're aware of, it's happening, and you're keenly aware of the fact that more and more people are, more and more relationships that you've had kind of falling by the wayside. That is progress. Whether you would have categorized the relationship as healthy or unhealthy, the very fact, and whether it's, let's say, for example, it was what you consider to be a good relationship, but now it's over for whatever reason. That person moved on, they decided they didn't want you around, or perhaps a work situation took them away, and you felt the pangs of that. But there is a reason for it, and you're beginning to trust that. That's progress. And in the case of a relationship that you really knew wasn't healthy, but you didn't know how to act on it. Let's say it was a family member, or family as a whole. And suddenly you're ostracized by all of them. Whether you, through your attempts to speak to them about these kind of things, or just because energies were no longer compatible because you're moving on this road, on this path. That's progress. The very fact that they're no longer feeling compatible with you, that there's more and more friction is an indication of progress. That's how you know you're moving. Because on the one hand, although forces show up in your life, it works both ways. As you make progress, forces can show up in your life that are intended to help you step up your game. Challenging situations, people that come into your life. Well, the same thing is going on, really, as various people and situations go out of your life. They're both indications that you're moving. Forward progress. Got it? Okay. Another indication that you're moving forward is that those of you that are connecting with core self, you're beginning to expand that, deepen that, and use it in more consciously progressive, or you're more using it in more conscious ways that with the intention of making of consciousness progression and moving along your conscious awareness journey, your awakening journey, that you are more and more, not just this once a day thing, you're taking time throughout the course of the day and becoming more aware of core self presence within you. Or you're checking in more frequently throughout the day. You're taking more time and you're doing more, and more often you are taking time to connect with, even if it's just a couple of minutes, but you're doing it off and on throughout the day. Even if you haven't yet felt the feedback from that, it's coming and you're making progress. You are making progress because that's more present moment awareness. That's more intentional focus on an effort toward core self-embodiment. That equals progress. And I mentioned earlier how various things in nature and all around are speaking to us. I mean, it could be, there's so many examples. I've got so many, it's just, it's hard to nail them down, but I'll give a few recent examples. If you're experiencing more synchronicities as well as maybe more challenges, that's a sign of progress. Whether it's a butterfly, a song, a random song, you're walking and you hear on somebody else's radio, and you distinctly hear the words of a song that you go, whoa, that was for me. Or a message in a fortune cookie that you go, you normally wouldn't pay attention to, let's say, but you crack open the little cookie and boom, there it is. But just if you're in tune, if that's happening and you're getting more in tune with being open to and looking for, not expecting, but you're expanding, stretching your consciousness to include that, just like to be more aware of it. That's progress. Both cases. progress, progress, progress. If we talked about a couple minutes ago, I was talking about how people, and we all go through this phase, everyone, and sometimes multiple times along the path of awakening, where people go out of our lives for whatever reasons, they're gone. But if more people are coming, even if it's just one or two coming into your life, or a certain book shows up out of the blue, or a certain video, or a certain a website or something that is helping you, that's progress, because there's an underlying intention that you're wanting, your core self wants you to move and go to the next level. And that's why this stuff shows up for you, why these people are showing up for you, because you are putting it out there. That's how it always works for me. I maintain an ongoing intention to encounter, connect with the next level information, and it always comes. But the very fact that you're getting that these things are coming to you, whether it's a person on the street, somebody that you meet on Facebook, or like I said, or on a website or something like that, that's progress. They're not just showing up randomly. They're there because you're moving. And now there's space for them to show up. There's a place you've created because you've done enough work, or your tension is so strong, you're committed, your desire and your commitment, and you're taking steps, stuff shows up. And if you're aware on any level that that's what's going on, and you act on that, that's progress. I could go on for hours, but I think that's a pretty good place. I'm going to be doing other videos like this so that we are looking at the progression side of things and not always at the regression side of things, because that's really important. But in the next video, I'm going to be looking into the different ways that we are or can be interfered with externally as well as through ourselves. Energies and people and forces and beings that can come at us or come into our space or project energetically in ways that can be intimidating. But that's what I'm going to look into next time, and some ways that you'll be able to deal with that. And remember, the best way to begin dealing with anything that challenges you is to have the knowledge of what's really going on behind the scenes. That's the first step, because it empowers you. When you understand what might be going on, what's really going on, not just what's happening, but what's behind that, there's nothing more empowering, and therefore nothing better equips you to be able to adequately address the situation. Okay? Once again, thank you for being here. If you're finding this information helpful, I'll hope you'll subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, If you go to my site and subscribe, you'll also get regular notifications, not just of the videos, but of my articles. Anyway, until we meet again, I hope you'll be sharing this with other travelers, conscious travelers, not just anybody. I hope you'll share with them. Anyway, until next time, take care.